Hi guys, and welcome to Reality with T. So let's talk about Married at First Sight from last night. Let me start with Jacob and Hayley, okay? Because Jacob and Hayley, they're getting exhausting, okay? They start out with him asking her, we see him ask her if she is attracted to him physically. And she says to him, honestly, I don't know. And then from there, he says, well, I don't know where we can go from here. And you can tell that, all that he puts into his body, he has a full gym in his house. He eats a steak and eggs. He's really, really proud of his body. And I'm sure that was probably a blow to his ego. Like, she isn't even physically attracted to me. And I think that he has a physically attractive body, but I do think that his face kind of looks older for her. And he's about 10 years older than her. So I can see where she could be like, I'm not sure. But what I have noticed about him is that he is a very direct person. And she's like kind of those people that they're kind of passive aggressive. They don't really say what they mean. They're kind of like, I don't know. They're trying to make it sound good, that type of thing, where it's like they don't want to just like bluntly hurt your feelings. But his thing is, he's very concrete. He's very direct. Like, let me know what it is, and then we can see what's the next step. What can we do? And I see that he's kind of regimented in the fact, well, we can tell that he is, as far as like the way he's created his house and his body and everything. But in a relationship, that's going to be difficult for him because everybody deals with things differently. So, she's kind of like, I don't know. And then he gets upset. And then, they had like a little falling out. But then I guess her way of making it up to him, she was like, all right, well, let me go and, buy him some clothes. And so in her mind, it was like, I'm going to buy him some clothes in order to build an attraction to him because I don't want him wearing 80s clothes. And I don't necessarily see him wearing 80s clothes out regularly. Like, he has it and he can wear it for fun, like on vacation and stuff, but it doesn't seem like he wears that regularly. Either way, she bought him some clothes, and the clothes look nice. They fit him nice. He has a nice body. But I can tell, like, he was kind of like, okay, you bought me clothes. Like, what is this for? I could tell that it was kind of like, okay, you're not attracted to me. Like, are you buying this to me, like, for me to make me look like somebody that you would be attracted to? I don't know. It was kind of strange, And I think I would feel the same way, too. Like, I would appreciate it, but it was just coming, like, a day after you say you're not physically attracted to him, It's kind of like, I'm not really physically attractive, but I'm going to try to make this work. So let me try to dress you up to be somebody that I would usually be attracted to, even though it's not you. Okay, I don't know how that went over with him. So, he brings it up again. And, they talked about it a few times in this episode. So then I think his issue was, he was kind of like, his thing is, you're not trying in this relationship. I get that you're not attracted to me, but, I'm at least trying to build something here. And his issue was that she hung out with Paige the night before, right? And he says he was waiting for her to come back, but apparently she stayed out till maybe 1, 2 in the morning. I'm not sure. And he says, like, maybe you should have come back. And then here she comes. She's like, I was trying to give you space after the little tiff that they had. But she said, I can't read your mind. And I agree. I think that's the same for him and Vincent. And, I don't know what you're thinking. If you want me to come back, send me a text. You know what I mean? Let me know, like, listen, go out and have fun, but, let's fall asleep together. I don't know, whatever it is that he wanted. You do have to let people know, especially when you only know them for about 2 weeks, what it is that you want and what you're thinking. So, in his mind, he kind of assumes things and he spins things out, and in his mind he kind of makes up stories and scenarios, right? And so, it ends up being that he's assumed what could have happened, and then now she's getting pissed off about it. Like, I forgot what he said, but it was something like, he made up this whole story, and she was like, you were probably thinking this, and basically it was like, if I had texted you this, you would have had an excuse for this, and then you wouldn't have came back down, and you would have said I was pressuring you, so I didn't. But it's like, you could not have known all that was going to happen. You're assuming, again, from past behavior, and you guys have both decided already that you're going to move on from the past and change your behavior, so you at least need to put in your part, which is to express how you feel, let her know what you want, because you can't assume how she would have reacted because you didn't try, so they're both kind of just, it's like this back and forth thing. And I feel like I don't see it ever coming to a point, unless something clicks in her that she sees something in him. I don't see it coming to a point where they end up together at the end of this experiment. So, she kind of gets frustrated. She's getting pissed off. She's like, I need time. I can't just fall in love with you. You expect that just because we're married, we also just met. I can't just turn my attraction onto you. And I can understand what she's saying, but I guess he just needs her to be more direct about it and to try, the way that he wants her to try. So he feels like he doesn't think she wants to go through the process being vulnerable, opening herself up. And I can see that because she definitely still has her walls up. They talk about, but then they said, okay, let's, they're participating in the process. So, they drop off the questions at the door, and it's about love. And so, Jake says to her, no, he says to the camera, he says, I think they asked him in the production room, and he was like, I don't have any love for Hayley. I mean, we're barely getting along. It's like, ugh. But like I said, he's very direct all the time. Doesn't mean he's checked out of the process. He's just saying what it is. This is the black and white of it. You know what I mean? And, when they start talking together about the love questions, he says, it seems to me that you're very deeply hurt from your previous relationship. Now he keeps going into, remember when he does this full, he gives his analysis, but it's also a blanket statement that's kind of like, I'm putting this entire assumption on you, which might not entirely be true. Like, you're you're analyzing me from just what you know of me, but you don't know my entire life. And I can see how it can feel like he's judging her or being judgmental in that moment toward her, and it could make her kind of pull back, because he's like, I can see that you were deeply hurt from your previous relationship. I don't think that you're going to be able to lower your guard unless we jump out of a plane together or something. And it was like, okay. And then, he just kind of jumps out of the window with the statements. They're so far-fetched sometimes. And it's like, how can you say that when you guys are still going through the process? So I don't know. This is going to be interesting. We're going to see where this goes. So then, in order to be nice, I guess he gave her, they kind of took a few days in order to chill out. He, gave her a pool party. And Eric and Virginia come over. He has a really nice house. It's nice. Virginia's talking to Hayley, I believe, and she's talking about how she cleaned and organized everything for Eric. But when he went away, then when he came back from his job, he kind of didn't notice, so that kind of bothered her a bit. Hayley talked about how she's not really attracted to Jacob. And I think she's like, everything is so serious with him. We always end up arguing. We don't really have fun, which is true. He is kind of boring, and he is kind of routine. And, she seems like she's kind of fun-loving, go out for drinks, just have a good time, go with the flow type of thing, just let it happen naturally. And he's not used to doing that. So that's the issue. And it's true, every time they do talk, they do argue. So I can see how it could be I'm not even attracted to this situation. So then Brianna came over. Vincent had to do something else for whatever reason, but Brianna did come over. Paige came over. Ryan and Clara came over. Paige tells the girls that Chris wants to meet up with her again. And so now they're all kind of like, oh my God, are you serious? Do you not see that he's playing games with you? Why do you keep meeting up with him? What is the thing here? You know what I mean? He's making a fool of you. And that's what everybody in America is thinking right now, right? And so Paige says, I will be led by the Lord. Whatever the Lord tells me to do that day, that's what I'll do. And you're like, Paige, at some point, the Lord gave us free will. At some point, you're going to have to fight the devil, right? Because we already know what it is. That is Chris coming through and manipulating you and messing up your brain and going through this whole thing. That's not the Lord, honey. You have to start making some choices, okay? And, she's like, I don't know. It's just she's just kind of frustrating now. And it was sad before. We felt bad for her. But now it's nobody is making you do this. You're choosing to do this. And you're on camera. For God's sakes, at least have a little bit of dignity about yourself. You know what I mean? The games he's playing are so childish. But we'll get into that in a minute. Now we have Ryan and Clara, right? So they start out crafting mugs together. And, all you hear Ryan say the whole time is, sure, yeah, sure, yeah. He's so serious and so just, to me, it's just like I said, an empty cardboard box. There's not much personality there. There's not much going on there. And so, Clara, Ryan, you can tell he's a perfectionist. He says everything he does, he wants to be the best at it. And you can tell he's trying to do that with the mug. He's pretty much I'm going to be better than her. But the thing about that is it's good to be competitive, but sometimes you have to kind of let it down. Just kind of enjoy it. You guys are experiencing something new. Just kind of enjoy it. It's not about who's going to win the race. You know what I mean? Just enjoy yourself. So Clara talks about how she's ready to commit and she just doesn't feel that he's there yet. And, they have the love questions as well. And she says, asking those questions are very awkward for him for some reason. Maybe it's because he's never been there, but he seems very awkward and out of place answering these questions. And so, you know, she talks about how serious he is, you know, and she's really fun, and she's, you know, she's not on schedule, and she's just kind of going with the flow and falling in love easily and having fun with whoever it is that, you know, that comes along. And he's very serious. So I also don't know if this is going to work, because I don't know. I think that he would try to make it work in order to make it look like, you know, he did everything he could, and it looks like maybe he should be with her, but I don't think that she is going to be that into him very soon. So, you know, we see he tries to like lighten the mood, I guess. She likes donuts, so they have like a donut dinner, and she loves donuts. And to me, I'm like, oh my God, that looks way too sweet for me. I don't eat all them sweets, right? So they start eating, and then he just like comes out and says, what motivates you in life? And she's kind of like, nothing in particular that I could think of on the spot, you know, like it depends on what I'm doing. Like if I'm going to work, I get motivated by getting up and getting my check, you know, because she's not thinking like on this whole like existential level that he's always thinking on. And so, you know, Ryan says, well, you know, I wake up with a purpose every day. It's premeditated. I'm motivated by success and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, she tells him, I feel like I came here to a self-help talk. You know what I mean? Like, we're here to eat donuts. Like, we're supposed to be having fun. And I can get it that, like, you have to have these conversations to get to know each other. But sometimes it's just not the time or the place. And everything doesn't have to be so... I can understand what she's saying. Because sometimes when people ask me those questions, it's like, I'm not that type of person sometimes that just thinks so deeply about all of these things all the time. Like, if you were to ask me right now and say, okay, I'm motivated by my kids on a larger level, right? You know, to get up, you know, to go to work, and, you know, what are you saving money for? What are you planning for? This and that, you know, to make sure my kids have a great life and that they reach their fullest potential, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know that I'm the type of person to just sit around and just kind of, you know, I don't know. I just can't even think that way. Like, on the spot, I'm trying to think about it too. Like, oh my God. When people ask, well, who was your greatest influence in life, and who was this and that? I'm like, I don't know that I give that to any one person. You know, I'm just the kind of person that's kind of scattered as well. What's your favorite movie? Well, I have several. What's your you know what I mean? Like, it's hard for me to just be so particular and specific and pick favorites and this and that. And I would have to think about it. So I understand where she's coming from. Like, why? And that's not even fun to talk about. So why are we talking about it at the donut dinner? You know what I mean? Like, come on. Either way. So then Paige meets with Pastor Dwight. And Pastor Dwight was supposed to be Chris's best friend. And remember, Pastor Dwight is his biggest mentor and best friend and knows him so well, and all this BS that they talked. And I'll tell you why it's BS, right? So, you know, apparently he reached out to Paige, which already I'm feeling that is completely inappropriate. Why are you reaching out to my, whatever the relationship is, my wife, my ex-girlfriend, whatever? Why are you reaching out to talk to her behind my back? You know what I mean? That just seems suspect. And then, he continues to throw Chris under the bus. You know, I was disturbed by Chris's behavior, kind of feeling like he has to apologize for him. Like, if you guys are supposed to be friends, why are you here to talk to the person I'm in a relationship with without me knowing? Why are you throwing me under the bus? You know, he talks about, you know, Paige tells him about the trip to Chicago. It was almost like she feels like, I guess she's looking for an answer, but whoever she meets up with on Chris's side is like, let me kind of tell on him in a way. So she says, you know, he's living like a duplicitous life. Duplicitous life. I like that word. So then, you know, the pastor decides to bust out some scriptures, and he doesn't think Chris was prepared for the marriage. He decides to tell his business. The man has been engaged twice. You know, he was young. I'm still thinking, like, is this guy your friend? Like, he's telling your business. And he says, I thought it would have been good for him to get married. You know, if you're going to be played with, this isn't for you. Because, you know, he tells, you know, he thinks that she was such a good match for him. Yeah, so I'm like, you know, he's like, you're being played with, and he's like, she's asking, like, she said, I wonder if they're lying about the pregnancy, because, you know, he says something about a sonogram, it was today, and this and that, so she's like even trying to question if the pregnancy is even real. And I feel like at this point in where they are, I wouldn't even worry about that. If you had to go to the point where you lied to get away from me, I'm going to let you go. Pregnant or not, I don't want to know. I don't know when you have a sonogram. I don't want to know anything about you or this baby. That's in my past. The relationship no longer serves you. I wouldn't even be thinking about it, right? So you know, the pastor says, well, if he finds out that she's not pregnant, he's going to know then that he should have stayed with you. And it's just like he's talking as if he isn't his friend. He's like trying to play both sides. It's just completely inappropriate. And I think Chris, from what I understand, put some Instagram posts up blasting at the pastor, saying that this was all done for TV. You didn't want to speak to me until you were on the camera, and because you wanted to make sure that you got more people into your church, basically. Like the pastor wanted some sort of, to be on TV, some sort of, you know, notoriety so that he can get more people to come to his church. And I can see that. When I saw this, I'm like, oh, okay. Because he was like, basically that whole friend thing, they weren't really friends. He barely knew him, and they did that for the camera. So now I'm already questioning production and everybody. So either way. So then we have Eric and Virginia. So, you know, Eric talks about him being gone for work, and, you know, she wanted him this time to contact her more. Now, if you remember back when she was at the wedding, he was calling her. They were calling each other like once every hour or two, right? And he was like, oh, that should be okay. But then she's like, okay, when he went away, he didn't really call me as much. And I think it was him just kind of like, well, I was working, so I was in my routine. I really wasn't thinking about it. It had nothing to do with you, which I can understand. But it's interesting now that she wants him to call her more. Like she thought he would be, she was like, it was fine, but I thought you would be calling me more because you expected me when I was away to call you more, you know? So, you know, they're having mimosas in the morning. And I do think, you know, they start to talk about like her parents' marriages and how they were, I guess she just saw some really awful stuff as far as relationships were concerned between her mom and dad and the stepmoms and stepdads or whatever. And, you know, his parents are still together after 40 years. So I'm trying to see, like, is the drinking a result of something that she saw, a result of something that she saw in her past, or just like the contentious relationships, or maybe the instability of her living situation? Because the way that she's drinking, like even the mimosas, she's like, oh, I just want a splash of orange juice. Like, it's like from sun up to sundown, it's like you're getting wasted. You know what I mean? And I think she's using it as a crutch, some sort of a, you know, she's just self-medicating for whatever it is that she has been through. So, you know, she talks about, you know, Eric later on in the episode, he made her dinner. He's doing something nice for her. He plays his guitar for her. He took her over to his house. He has the lighting going. Remember, he has a bachelor pad with like the lighting. And, you know, she kind of asked him, like, why do you like me so much? She keeps asking. And he ends up saying that he loves her. It was his first time saying that he loves her, and it was really sweet. So I like them together. I think that they have to tweak some things and, you know, twerk some things, whatever it is. But I think that they're going to be really good together if she can get her drinking down and the partying down, and he can get his issues with control down, and kind of just trust her to be an adult who's on her own, who isn't going to just get trashed and end up in an alley. I think that they might be okay, because I think that the base of what they have is pretty good, which is that attraction and that love and care for each other. Now, Vinnie and Brianna. Oh, Vinnie, come on, Vinnie. You know, they start off the episode so sweet. He talks about how they think they're going to be using the L word soon, and she agrees. And I think he said he loves her already. And, you know, she says, I love you more. And then, you know, they're both still growing in love with each other. And, you know, they both say the same thing, and it's a really sweet moment. And so, you know, I guess Brianna had to go away for work, and then we see her come back in. And, you know, he gives her a kiss, and he was eating some guacamole. I guess he had some guacamole on his lips, and it got on her lips. And this is the first red flag, okay? And so she's like, I think you got guacamole on my lips. That's cute, though. Wait a minute now. Did he already get embarrassed? Because you can kind of see his face. You can see him with the tissue. He wiped it like a good 3 or 4 times. Like, okay, dude, the guacamole is gone. So I think some of it is he is very self-conscious about being messy or clumsy, whatever it is. And also the camera's there. So I can understand why you would want to not look so messy on camera. You know what I mean? I think that has a lot to do with what is pushing this anger issue on him. Because nobody wants to look bad in front of like the entire world, right? So it went over smooth though. He was fine, but I do think he was embarrassed. Okay, so I'm also wondering, like, maybe he is a little clumsy. Maybe he is a little messy. You know what I mean? Maybe that's why he is so insecure about it. Like, but to me, I think that she sees that, but she also thinks it's cute. She sees it as a positive, and he sees it, maybe it's something he's been dealing with, you know, his whole life. People kind of like joking on him about it, so it really bothers him. So that's where the issues come in. But I really think that she thinks that it's really cute because she said that several times. So, you know, he starts teaching her Spanish. He buys her a bicycle, which was really sweet. And so she decides to take him salsa dancing because apparently he likes the salsa and he dances bachata, right? So they go to salsa dancing and it seems like they're having a good time most of the time. But, and I don't know if you guys remember a few seasons back when they were doing salsa dancing when they were on vacation, and one of the guys, they were in some hot location on the island, and he was so sweaty, and he got so pissed. His whole back was sweaty. He was so hot. He hated salsa dancing, and he had this big old outburst. I forgot his name, but I can remember what they looked like. Either way, that's what happened with Vinnie. He got sweaty. He felt embarrassed because he didn't feel like his steps were on point like that. So here we go again. He's embarrassed, right? So he gets upset. And you can tell he's upset because his facial expression has completely changed. It's kind of blank, and you can tell that he's not feeling it, right? And we know that every time he feels like he messed up, but you can't really mess up in a practice. Like, it's supposed to be fun. Like, she was very lighthearted about it. She was laughing and smiling the whole time. She was laughing and smiling even afterwards, you know. But he's so moody, you know. So she looks at him at this point, and she's like, even while she's like laughing and smiling, she's like, "Are you okay?" And you can tell she kind of got uncomfortable, and he's like, "I'm not okay." He's like, "You know, this class stuff is not for me." And you can tell it's kind of like, what the hell happened? Did I miss something? What? And then when that kind of thing happens, you're like, okay, what did I do? I'll try to do something nice for you instead of being grateful. Like, this is how you're going to act? Like, we had a good time. At least in her mind, I could see where she was like, I had a good time. And it's like, that's going to get draining to her. I think that's going to get, until he gets a cap on that anger issue and those moves, she's gonna, I don't know if that's gonna work for them. But to me, he's scary because people like that who get that upset over something so small, like, what if something big happens? How are you gonna act? Like, this is not that serious. So this is something I think he needs to work on with a therapist on his own. Now we have Paige and Chris, right? So, you know, Chris shows up all smiling and stuff, and of course he tries to deflect and put it on her. You know, I was mad at you last Sunday, but I'm okay now. I'm thinking, why were you mad at her? She wasn't rude to you. She expressed herself. Like, you were mad at her for what? For what? I was about to say for why. For what? You know what I mean? Like, what were you mad at her for? She didn't do anything. You're the sore thumb in this relationship, okay? So, you know, she says that she met up with his pastor, and he, I think rightfully so, said, okay, my pastor should have told me he was reaching out to Paige. You know what I mean? Like, this happened behind my back. You know, and he's like, I understand what he's saying, but the way that he says it is so childish. You know, he was on my side, not her side, you know, and I will never speak to him again. You know, we're never going to talk again, all this kind of stuff. It just comes out sounding like he's 6 years old, but I understand his message, okay? So, you know, after a while, they're just sitting there quiet, and Paige is like, okay, this is awkward. Why am I here? And, you know, Chris says, well, I have no new revelations from last Sunday. So then it's like, okay, well, why did you call me here? Just to look at your confused face, you know? And so Paige says, okay, well, you're wasting my time and you're pissing me off. So she gets up and walks away, talks to the producers, and the producers say, well, go back and tell him that. Tell him, like, do not ever contact me again. Tell him it's over, blah, blah, blah. Because, you know, they want to keep the show going, of course. And also, like, I don't know, whatever. Like, so they convince her to go back. And so, you know, he's talking a little bit, and he's kind of laughing, and she's like, don't laugh, this isn't funny. And he's like, well, I'm not laughing, this is how I show emotion. Okay, so Paige is like, listen, you have me out here looking crazy, you know what I mean? And he's like, no, you know, I'm not. He's saying that he gets defensive, you know, he's very, I guess he's confused because he doesn't want somebody else to raise his kid. It's so early in the pregnancy for you to be talking about this kid like it's a kid, especially when in the end she ended up miscarrying, which is an awful experience. But he is already talking about it. I don't mean to offend anybody, but it's like, she's 6 weeks pregnant. You're in a marriage. You know what I mean? It's like you are saying that you have to get back with her at 6 weeks. You guys haven't even been to the first sonogram. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like I don't know, he's doing too much. But either way, you know, he's like, I could be making the wrong decision. I'm also afraid that I may be happy and fall in love with you. Of course, remember, he's trying to bring her in, right? He's trying to reel her in. He's trying to mess with her head, keep her right there where he knows he can get her. And so, you know, he said he's been negligent and he didn't come here to break her heart. She doesn't deserve this. You definitely shouldn't be an option. You're a great woman. You deserve better than this. And I never meant to do this to you, type of a thing. And so she ends up saying, I think he asked her, like, what do you want? And she says, to the dismay of the entire United States watching this show, I wanted you to give us a chance. And then, of course, he wants to give them a chance. And then she decides to bring up, let's press the reset button. Can we start over? Now, I'm just thinking, like, now when she shows up back to the group with Chris's butt, everybody gonna be looking at her like, girl, are you crazy? Like, we already looking at you like you crazy because we seeing the conversations that the other folks are not seeing. But it's like, girl, what happened? You know what I mean? Like, what happened? Like, she has to go somewhere and tell us about her history in relationships, her history in seeing her parents' relationships. Like, what is going on here? You have cameras in your face. You're on national TV. Keep some of your dignity, girl. Like, and then the fact that his games and his game that he has is so 16 years old, it's like, girl, why are you falling for this? You are way too smart. You have too much going for you to be worried about Chris. Either way, let me know what you think. I guess it's going to make for good TV. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Come on, share with people, guys. Let's get my viewers up. Let's see if I can really do this, okay? Either way, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.